Tom and Lisa, we have what your first giveaway is for you guys, and we all chipped in. And if you see her shirt, show her your shirt. So Lisa, this is a badass shirt right there. Where are you? Right there. Okay, so that's your shirt. And this is what we want to give you guys. This is from our whole team. We pitched in, and what this is a rebounder. I'm sure you've heard about the lymphatic system and draining the lymphatic system. I love these things, whether you like them or not, and you can always give it away. But I would love to see you guys jumping on this rebounder, but it's helped me a lot. I went from 260 to 195. The rebounder and drain the lymphatic system was a big part of that. So give a round of applause. Give Kate a wave. Give Kate a wave.
You're giving that to us, did you say?
What's that?
Who are you giving that to?
That's you guys. This rebounder's for you. Yeah, yeah. So we got your rebounder. So yes, there they are. Okay. I think, oh, this is perfect. Yes. Okay. That excites me. I think you guys have some of the most ridiculous Christmas sweaters, so I got something to match that. So Lisa loves Wonder Woman. I have been hanging on for this for about 8 months because when COVID hit, I couldn't come over your guys' house anymore. And I got you a Wonder Woman bandana, if you can see that.
Oh, yes.
And to match, Tom's ridiculous Batman sweater also has a bandana as well. So
that is
you guys can
amazingly
have these
generous.
That's
all right.
too kind, Ricky. That's so cute.
I love you guys, man. Now, my last one is something that is very sentimental to me, and this is something that I am super happy to give to you, and I don't think you've ever been given something like this, but if you guys can read this, this is your first Christmas on a t-shirt, and it says, have yourself a very Bilyeu Christmas, because Tom and Lisa freak out over Christmas. And I saw Tom's thing with that guy that does the paintings. And on the back, it says, lean into the joy.
Nice. That's amazing, man. Thank you.
So
very kind.
I'm
very
looking
kind.
forward to wearing that this Christmas.
Yeah, so I thought that was going to be kind of fun for you guys. All right. Now we're going to give away a shirt. This is an Impact Theory shirt. So Lisa, do me, and it says be legendary on the back.
All right.
Lisa, do me a favor. Whatever Lisa's word in the chat, pick a word, Lisa. We're going to throw it in the chat, and we're going to give away this free t-shirt, and Scott's going to catch the free winner on the chat. But Lisa, pick a word for me, and we'll give this away.
So you mean go in the chat and just pick someone that put a word in?
Just say any word at all. And then we're going to throw it in the chat, and then whoever puts that word in the chat first wins. So just say any word that you want.
Any word?
Yep.
In the entire vocabulary of words.
Yep. Yep.
All right, you ready, people? Badass.
Badass. All right,
sure
first person to write badass
everyone.
in the chat. First person to write badass in the chat gets a free t-shirt. There we go. All right, so Scott will give me the winner. Got it? Okay, cool.
Amazing.
There's also tons of lights here, and I'm sweating. I'm a warm-blooded human, so just FYI, I'm doing all right. I just sweat a lot. All right, so Tom and Lisa, thank you guys so much. Looking forward to having an impact on people's lives like you have had an impact on mine. And all right, so the following, Tom and Lisa, this is a tribute to you guys. Hey, everybody, welcome to Today is the Greatest Time to Be Alive. Our goal with this event is to introduce you to 2 people and their ideas that will actually help you execute on your dreams. All right, I want to introduce you to the biggest badasses on the planet, Tom and Lisa Bilyeu. Tom and Lisa are billion-dollar entrepreneurs who built their success from the ground up. They founded Quest Nutrition. It grew the second fastest growing Inc. 500 billion company by 57,000% in 3 years. That's so ridiculous, I'm going to say it again. They grew Quest Nutrition by 57,000% in 3 years. Before it was commonplace for companies to rely on growing their community through social media, Tom and Lisa devised an innovative yet practical marketing plan to organically connect with the consumer, which included sending out 1,000 handwritten letters to influencers with free Quest bars. By the year 4, they hit over 100 million in sales, all without any outside funding. When Let This Come Home, that led to a $1 billion valuation in less than 5 years after launching. As if that wasn't enough, then they dedicated their lives to impacting the lives of others. They are the co-founders of Impact Theory, which was created to influence the cultural subconscious by producing empowering content, including the company's flagship series, Impact Theory, which was almost called Mission House, which I'm glad it wasn't. But on Impact Theory, Tom has interviewed some of the world's highest achievers, such as Tony Robbins, Robert Kiyosaki, David Goggins, Jay Shetty, Les Brown, and Gary Vee, in order to unlock their secrets to success and powerful mindset. Impact Theory Studios has also produced Neon Future, a 6-issue comic book series which Tom created with acclaimed DJ Steve Aoki. And as of today, they launched their second season that you can go check out on Webtoon. Lisa's career trajectory has been an astonishing arc from housewife to entrepreneur, transforming her business focus from nutrition to entertainment media, and has been featured in Forbes and Entrepreneur.com. And now jumping in front of the camera, Lisa and her badass self host a show, Women of Impact, that centers around all things female empowerment and creating confidence, where she has interviewed the likes of Rachel Hollis, Gabby Bernstein, Lisa Nichols, and Casey Ho. As Tom continues to crush the business and mindset space and growing his comic book series with Steve Aoki, also on his list of goals, to create the next Disney. At the end of the event tonight, 2 people win a free call on Zoom with them of the 2 people that I just described that can change your life. Well, what I love most about Tom and Lisa is that they love Christmas more than fucking Santa Claus. So Tom and Lisa, thank you so much for joining my community tonight. I want to welcome you guys. How are you? I love you guys.
Dude, thank you so much for having us, man. We are doing very well, and I promise that we are only in separate rooms because we were told that that was ideal.
Okay.
But I do love that woman, and we are literally sharing the same house right now, so it's hilarious. But hey, baby, see you over.
I just wanted to chime in though and say, Tom, baby, you got someone chasing you, and his intros.
He's lapping me. He's lapping me.
He's got you on your toes, Bilyeu. You got to get
that was incredible, Ricky. Incredible.
Round of applause for Ricky. That freaking was amazing.
Yeah, give Ricky a wave. Can we get this camera? Can we get this camera with the Ricky wave right there?
That's amazing.
Yes, yes. Tom, I mean, I say this all the time, man. Like when I go and hang around with you and Lisa and watch Impact Theory, a lot of times my biggest takeaways are when the camera stops rolling. And when you didn't really know me a whole lot, I'd be like creeping up and just trying to get close. And he's probably like, get this guy away from me. But I guess you guys are the most generous, welcoming people in the world. So, and that's what I don't know if a lot of people realize or know, but like, not even joking, trajectory of life completely altered because of you guys. So I love you.
Thank you, man. We love you too. You've been amazing, dude. Amazing. And the way that you gave value before you tried to extract value is, it is a pattern for people to model themselves after. You did an extraordinary job of going from, we had no idea who you were, to you showing so much kindness and generosity to the team that, you know, just out of a desire to acknowledge how wonderful you'd been to everybody. It was like, you know, whatever we could do to help. So you've got the right strategy, man, for winning friends and influencing people, as they say.
Yeah, he would come in, so everyone knows, he would come in with like just big ass boxes of food. And that's the thing. It's such a great strategy. It's like the team loved you. They wanted you more. So then they were telling us about you, and then we got to know, and you're just such a genuine person. And I think that those things, being genuine, because eventually people will see it, and then being generous, I think were 2 attributes that stole our hearts and then wanted us to get to know you more, and then seeing the man that you are and everything you're bringing to the world is just amazing.
Thank you. Well, my community, we give like a double tap to the heart. That means we love you. So like, and okay. So before we get going, the first person to write this word in the chat, I'm going to Venmo $100 tonight, actually right now. So the first person, oh, Scott's almost ready. Good communication team. He's ready now. The first person to write gratitude in the chat. I will Venmo you $100 tonight. Write gratitude in the chat, and then we will Venmo you. Scott will let me know, and bam. All right. So let's get to some Q&A. So Lisa, we have a lot of women on the call, and I believe the world is starving for more badass, strong, entrepreneurial-minded women. So Lisa, one of the strongest traits I see and love about you is your willingness to talk about vulnerability. And when I saw you backstage at Thrive, you told me, you were like, Ricky, I was so nervous, but then I saw you laughing and taking pictures. And the fact that you told me that you were nervous, it was like, man, it's badass Lisa Bilyeu. Like, how can you be scared? How can you be nervous? So what I want to ask for everybody on the call, but especially the women, you know, when you're feeling vulnerable, how do you, number one, deal with that, but then also invoke your inner badass?
I think it all comes to, first of all, the very first thing is figuring out what you're vulnerable about. And and then why you're vulnerable. So for me, let's just take stepping on stage as a perfect example. I'd never really stepped on stage before. I had one other gig. Seeing you there, I was like, thankfully, because Tom couldn't come, I was like, someone that I recognize. And you just sat there in the front row and you just clapped. And so first of all, immediately I was like, oh, but getting on stage is figuring out like, why was I vulnerable in the first place? Why was I so nervous? And once I started to ask myself the question with no judgment, because that's the big thing, guys, is that when you ask yourself the questions, you can't judge your answer. The second you judge your answer, I think you're going to like push back. But for me, I was like, all right, why am I vulnerable? No judgment, but why? I was insecure. I grew up being picked on and bullied every time I put my hand up. If I didn't understand something, I just got teased. So it taught me to not put my hand up in class. So I was teased for my looks, my nose. And so it taught me to not put myself out there. So once I started to step in front of the camera and step on stage, and I was very nervous, I started to ask myself why. And I realized that even now in my 40s, again, no judgment, I still have that innate want to be liked. And because it stems from the second I was liked, I felt good about myself. Now, I don't tie my self-esteem anymore to that whatsoever, but it still exists, right? So I can't shut it down. It exists. I own it. I accept it. I don't let it dictate. I still went out on stage, but now I understood. Okay, now I know where the fear is coming from. Then I go, what's the worst that can happen if you step on stage? And what's the worst that can happen if you don't step on stage? And what's the best that can happen? So I literally sat there and I said, okay, if I step on stage, the worst thing is I freeze and everyone thinks, oh my God, right? You even said it yourself, the expectation. Oh my God, Lisa Bilyeu is nervous. So it's the expectation that feared me in the first place. So the fear was everyone expects me to be good. And what if I freeze? People think of me as being Tom's wife, so I should be as good as him. And if you've ever seen that man speak, Jesus Christ. So it's all these expectations. All right, so I know that. What's the best thing that can happen? I don't freeze and I actually impact someone. So now I've got my two things. Now, what if I don't go on stage? All right, you're not going to freeze. You're not going to have any embarrassment, but you're definitely not going to impact anyone because you don't go on stage. So I've got this assessment and now I go, what's my goal? What's my life's goal? What's my thing that I've been telling myself? Create impact. Okay, so now I've freaking broken it down. I go, yes, I'm vulnerable, but I've just worked my way with no judgment to a conclusion that whether I'm vulnerable or not, doesn't matter. Going on stage helps my goal, helps what I'm aiming for, helps my drive, my passion. Not going on stage doesn't. So now I come into my ego, which is going on stage and failing, and impact. And now I've defined it and I've been able to articulate it to myself so easily. So now I go, which one's more important? With no judgment. If ego is my preferred thing, I won't judge myself for it. I would just say, now you can't beat yourself up for not getting to your goal. So I go, cool, what's more important? Is it my ego? Is it impact? Just decide, Lisa, and own whatever decision. I was like, screw it, who cares if I freeze on stage? At least I've tried it. And then I got on stage, I saw your face, your smile, your round of applause. And I just kind of was like, all right, now I'm doing it for Ricky. And I just kept staring at you, Ricky. And, you know, I messed up a few times, but it's like, I don't remember any of that. I remember people coming up to me after saying that thing that you said impacted me. And now I know because of my vulnerability, I was still allowed to go on stage. And then it becomes confirmation. Next time I'm vulnerable, remind myself you stepped on stage, you created this, you created impact. And it becomes another tool in your belt of confirmation that you can still do it. And then you do it more and more.
I love that. And one of my biggest takeaways, although many are like, you play that what if game. Well, what if it works out? What if I awesome? What if I dominate? And it's just having that awareness to look at those two options. So let's put first person again to write this word. Scott, I'm giving you a heads up. This is one of the Lisa's shirt that she wanted to do. And when you wear it, it's backwards because you wear it and you see it in the mirror. So really cool shirt. Write, the first person that write badass in the chat, write badass in the chat. Scott will get the winner and you just won yourself a shirt from Lisa. Awesome. Okay. So Tom, from going from $1 billion valuation, growing a company with 50,000% in 3 years, And for something that is so often overlooked for entrepreneurs, I've heard you say this time and time again. You want to get good at business, well, you're going to have to get your mind right. And I want you if you can just expand on that, because there's a lot of entrepreneurs that may just overlook the power of really working on that mindset.
So being a good entrepreneur is about doing the right things. So what I call the physics of progress. If you follow the process, then you're going to ultimately get the result. Now, you may not get $1 billion exit or whatever. There's too much luck in that to guarantee it, but you're going to be able to sustain a business. And what ends up stopping people from following the physics of progress through failure after failure after failure is their mindset. And one of my favorite quotes of all time, Winston Churchill, said that success is the ability to go from failure to failure to failure without a loss of enthusiasm. Now, if you let that sink in, it's like the reason people can't go from failure to failure to failure and remain enthusiastic is because they begin to believe that those failures say something about them as a person. They begin to doubt themselves. They begin to lose faith and conviction. They're not able to tap into the energy stores that they could get from a passion. They're not focused on getting better. They're just beating themselves up over, I'm not good enough. And they get lost in that death spiral. So when you really just like at a fundamental level, think about why people end up getting held back, it is from I'll call a baseline level of success. It is always mindset. Now, if you get your mindset right, it's still a fucking struggle. It's not like success is guaranteed. This shit is hard, right?
Right.
So, but most people never play the game long enough to even hit that level. And so I see people lamenting, oh, I'm never going to hit that big, or, my first company failed, or, I've got this dream, but I can't get it off the ground. And Seth Godin has the greatest comeback to people that say that they want to do something, but they're no good at it. And he uses the example in writing. When somebody comes in and says, I'm a bad writer, he says, cool, show me your bad writing. And in reality, he said, of course, nobody ever has bad writing to show them. They have decided that they are bad, and so they don't even try. And that's where most people live their whole lives. They're so convinced that they wouldn't be able to do something. Maybe they tried once or twice and took that as, see, I knew it. I knew I was never going to be good enough at this. And not realizing you're not going to fail 3 or 4 or 5 times. You're going to fail 100 times, 1,000 times. And it's learning from those failures to get the knowledge that you need to ultimately stack into the life that you're trying to lead. So recognizing that skills have utility, they let you do something, build a business, and that the most efficient way, wish it weren't so, but it is, the most efficient way to build a skill set is to fail, figure out why you failed, learn that area, that gap that has just been exposed by that failure, and begin again more intelligently. And it is such a predictable process, and yet the human mind reacts in such a predictable way and negatively and shutting you down and making you afraid and wanting to stay small, that it's like when Lisa and I ran an experiment back at Quest, and we said, look, we'll teach anybody anything they want to know. In fact, we will teach you how to build a competitive nutrition company, because I want you to know I am here for you. I am here to serve. I'm going fucking hard, and I expect people to go hard with me, but I will teach you anything you want. I will show up early. I will stay late. I don't have kids. You guys are my children. Like I would bequeath everything I know to my child. I will bequeath all of this to you. And we just found that most people couldn't put it to practice because their mind was not in the right place. And so it became self-evident, no matter what I wanted to teach you, whether it was business, creative writing, marketing, anything, the first step was get your fucking mind right.
Absolutely, man. And I love that quote. And I want to take this moment to say, like, okay, go from failure to failure without a loss of enthusiasm. For all of us, let's implement that first and post it on social media later. I think an actual pandemic is posting things on social media and then not actually living them by them. And so that's and I've gotten so many nuggets from you guys. And I actually go to like say, hey, Tom said this, but I'm like, no, live by it first and post it later. So I absolutely love that. And it's why everything structures around mindset to get the business right. So man, just for that, I see right when you started talking, Tom, I saw Lisa giving a clap. So Lisa, we're just going to give you a gift. a planner. Scott, Lisa Penny is going to get a free Impact Theory planner. Compliments of Tom and Lisa Bilyeu. The thing is awesome. They gave me some gear and swag to give to you guys. I think that's pretty awesome. We're just giving that away because I love the excitement. And then if we could do, everybody give Tom and Lisa a wave. I just want to get this on video because it looks really cool. Yes, I love it. And there's Jay. What's up, Tom and Lisa? I love it. Okay. And Tom and Lisa, we're at Jay's studio, Hollywood Reel. So I'll plug that right now. Hollywood Reel, celebrity entertainment and sports interviews with Jay Menez. He helped me out so much. And that was somebody who I met at Tom and Lisa's house. So talk about collaborations and where they can go. Okay, so Tom and Lisa, what is one tangible, actionable implementation that people can do tonight that can increase the quality of life and or business? One thing that they can do tonight, and we'll start with Tom and we'll go to Lisa, but one thing, if it's one thing that can change a trajectory of life tonight, if it's done over long enough time frame, what would be your one go-to, Tom?
I'm gonna give you something that isn't sexy, but is one of those, note the number of people that are actually doing this are basically zero. And it breaks my heart because it's like, Tom, there's a lot of pain in my life. I really wanna stop. Oh, okay, cool. Stop hitting yourself in the hand with a hammer, which you're doing right now. Well, anything but that. Like that, what I'm about to say is that. And yet, I know how many of you are going to keep smashing your fucking hand with a hammer tonight. If you want to change your life forever, go to bed at 9 p.m. and don't set an alarm. Wake up when you wake up. Get as much sleep as you need. Now, for all of you saying, Tom, I could never do that. There's just no way. I will say, I built $1 billion business without setting an alarm. It is possible. I had 3,000 employees. It is possible. And if you think that just because I'm the boss, that means that I can just stroll in when I want, motherfucker, I was the first in the office and the last to leave every single day. And I still didn't set an alarm because I wasn't going to bed at midnight or 1 o'clock. Sleep, prioritize sleep. Everything you do with your brain. And the only way to keep your brain optimized is to sleep. So get your sleep. There is no bigger game changer. It's like somebody that says, I want to change my physique. I want to get healthy, whatever. There's only one answer: eat right. Everything else is like the 2% instead of the 98%. So if you want to perform well, get your sleep.
I love it. And I told the guys on the pregame, like, I'm going to pitch Impact Theory University every second because that shit has changed my life. So Impact Theory has tons of people that have talked about sleep, the importance of sleep. I know I've gone there a ton of times. And and I love that because the things that usually make the most impact, they're not sexy. I have a whole keynote on gratitude and people overlook it. But when we look at actually making a difference in our lives, I know our dear friend Dave Meltzer taught me that. And sometimes it's the small things done over a long enough timeline that make this huge difference. I'm going to bed at 9 tonight. So I will implement that. Lisa, what's one tangible thing, implementational action item tonight that people can do to change the course of their life?
Yes, so first of all, I want to thank everyone for helping me get on unmute. It was seemingly very difficult. So thank you everyone for chiming in. Tom stole my answer. So, because the funny thing is, in the Bilyeu household, if you invite the Bilieus out for dinner, it has to be at 5 p.m. Why? Because we need to be home by 8 o'clock. I have to take my makeup off and then we have to be in bed, lights out at 9 o'clock. Now, just for everyone to know, Tom never used to be like that. We were like night owls. We, especially even when we started Quest, it was like 3 a.m. on a Saturday, you're running the bar line. So I agree with sleep. I don't know if you necessarily can have as much sleep as we get now when we first started Quest, babe. I don't know if you can chime in, but we now switch our phones off and we do not allow anyone to interrupt our sleep. Like Tom said, we do not set an alarm. But at Quest, especially in the early days, a product, a batch goes bad on a Saturday, that's $5,000. We couldn't afford to lose $5,000. So Tom was on call 24/7. There was literally a time where Saturday night, it was our date night. We've been planning it for months. And I'd got all dressed up. We got in the car and he backs out of the driveway and his phone rings and it's the production line had gone wrong. So we drive to the production. I'm in a tight ass dress with stilettos, and I'm sitting in the parking lot for 2 hours while he's in a hairnet trying to fix the problem on a Saturday night. So anyway, so I wanted to say that because I don't know if you're just starting out, depending on what are required, if that's actually a possibility. But the thing is, absolutely, now we have very strict rules.
Lisa and I are going to have to like battle to the death on this, because I'll say 95% of the time, even during Quest, even though I was on call, all of that, still 95% of the time, I was in bed by 9 and I didn't wake up to an alarm. If I had a 4 a.m. flight or something like that, yes, of course, I would set an emergency alarm, and odds are that I would wake up to it. But even if you sleep 8 hours a night, that leaves a lot of other hours. That's 16 other hours in the day for you to do whatever it is you need to get done. Now, the one trump card that people will pull, and of course, people in the chat were pulling it, is children. So I have definitely strategically made sure that my life does not include sleep destroying machines, such as children. But yes, even with kids, trying to find a rhythm that protects your sleep as much as you can, just make sure that you're making it a priority. I get that there are realities when you have kids, and so there will be limitations, but doing anything and everything you can to prioritize it.
And then also for us, it's not even just getting the sleep, it's doing it early. So you're on the circadian rhythm of the sun. Tom had read many studies about jet lag and how vitamin D in the sun really helps with that. So that's why we go to bed at 9 and we don't go to bed at 1 and just do the 8 hours, like making it important to go to bed early and wake up with the sun. And then the last thing that I'll add for me is food. So what you eat at night, and for me, clarity happened when I started to eat, and digestive issues got better when I started to eat at least 3 hours before bed. So not going to bed full, not going to bed having just had a bunch of sugar. I'm assessed myself so much on what I eat and how I feel that I would notice if I eat just before bed, I would wake up a little lethargic. If I ate sugar just before bed, I would wake up lethargic. So knowing what you're putting in your body so that when you wake up, are you ready to go? That's super important as well.
Awesome.
And then since I know some people won't love body answers, I'll give you one thing that you can do, whether you plan to take care of your mind and your body or not. Write down an important things list the night before. So every night, write down what are the 3 to 5 most important things that you should be doing the next day. Write them in order. So there's no tied for first place or anything like that. If it's 5 things, it is 5 things in the order that you plan to do them. That way, if you wake up an hour earlier than you expected, or you've got a lunch break or whatever, you find you have a free moment of time, that you don't have to spend that free moment of time thinking about what you should be doing. You've got your important things list. You know exactly what you should be doing.
I love it. I love it. And there's a few, and in terms of a sleep destroying machine, I'm one of those. For my parents who are on the call, who hear me talk about you guys all the time. So mom and dad, if you're out there, give a big wave to Tom and Lisa so they know who you are. I also see Ty. Ty's going crazy. She's an awesome hypnotherapist in LA. She's actually been to your guys' house. You guys were super generous enough to have me bring her as a guest. She is awesome. She's a big fan of you guys as well. So Tom, I believe today is the greatest time to be alive, because simply people had goals and dreams yesterday that didn't make it till today. And for all the entrepreneurs out there, you know, what advantages do they have today that they did not have in, say, 2019?
So if this is meant to be sort of a spiritual question, I'm going to give a very tactical answer. So forgive me. For the people that don't panic, any time of massive disruption is always a time where people that would not have had a chance now will have a chance to succeed. So this is the time to be the incumbent, to be somebody who's on the come up. All of the established players are now just absolutely getting shaken about by 2020. 60% of the small businesses that closed temporarily have now closed forever due to COVID. So you can imagine there's all kinds of deals to be had on if you want to buy a distressed business, take over somebody's clientele, make new and exciting use of real estate. People are going to be giving that shit away. So this is just like in the Great Depression, more millionaires were created than any other time in history. We're about to go through that same thing now. So the good or the bad news is this is one of those moments where what you're seeing is people they are so scared that they're thinking in the wrong way. And I was just interviewing a Navy SEAL, and he talked about people that can maintain situational awareness in times of great stress. And I will say, if you have situational awareness in this time of great stress, you're going to see opportunity where other people only see catastrophe. And it is the people that stay calm, stay centered, stay purpose-driven, that know what they want and can think through the problem because they're not panicking, even if you have reason to panic, that you don't panic. Why? Because panic is never going to serve you. If panic served you, I would encourage you to do it. But the reality is you should only ever do and believe that which moves you towards your goals. Other than running from a lion, panic is never going to serve you. So you're going to stay calm, you're going to stay centered, and you're going to look for opportunity. If you do that, there are going to be people that come out the other side of this going, what are you talking about? This was bad. This was the greatest business opportunity ever. So keep your eyes peeled, stay centered. There is going to be a lot of heartache, and I can't even begin to tell you how much of my life. If you want to watch some of the most embarrassing interviews I ever did, right when COVID kicked off and people went on lockdown and I knew what was coming, I interviewed some of the greatest financial minds on the planet and asked them, what can the average person do to weather this storm? And nobody had a fucking answer. And I looked like a moron because I wouldn't let go. And I just kept asking the same fucking question from 1,000 different angles because I'm so worried about what will happen to people that can't stay calm. And unfortunately, many people won't stay calm. But if you guys do, then you'll be able to build something that probably couldn't have existed last year.
And I love that. And that is exactly the answer that I was looking for, because there's opportunity now that we never would have. Look, if it weren't for COVID, there's not I really don't think we would have had this opportunity. You know, John Assaraf did an event with me. I couldn't, but like, you guys would have been all over the place. I just wouldn't have been able to communicate with you. So if I had to narrow it down to one takeaway, there's opportunity for those who stay calm and can find that adaptation to really find strength in through the struggle. So, man, thank you. And Tom, if you can pick a word, any word will do. We'll drop this in the chat and we'll give away another event planner to whoever wins this. And I think Scott is ready. Tom, pick any word you want. I know you won't tell me your favorite word because I asked you, but any word that you want, I'm happy to drop in the chat. First person writes it in the chat will win this.
Here we go. Power.
Power. Drop power in the chat. I love power in the chat. So, okay.
I don't know how people type that shit that fast.
No. So we got another winner. And let's do this again. Lisa, pick a word. Whatever word Lisa says, I'm going to Venmo $100 tonight. So get your fingers ready. Whatever Lisa says. Lisa, tell us a word. We'll drop it in the chat.
Ricky.
Yes.
You didn't expect that,
hey,
huh?
look at that.
Man, people in this community type fast.
Our community loves free stuff, man. We love free stuff. We love free gear. So I think, and I definitely want to share a lot of things about masterminding and impact theory and impact the university. So this is one last question for Lisa, and then I got some things, and I want to ask you guys why you started that, because that impacted my freaking life. It's just such a massive impact. And my mom and dad hear me talk about it all the time. My sister, Ceci, I see her right there, Ceci Mendez-Ortiz. That's my sister. Hi, Cec, I love you. And so I definitely want to get to that. So for our last question here, before we go into that, Lisa, for all the women out there that have been told they can't do something, or maybe they're working in a male-dominated industry and maybe lack the confidence to take the risk of being ridiculed, what would you say to them?
Oh, I go back to something my girl, Evie Pompura, said to me. So in case you guys don't know, Evie Pompura, I see a couple of people cheering. She's a former Secret Service agent. And I asked her the same question. And I was like, what was it like to go into an environment where you were the, only female? Did you have to prove yourself? She's like, I didn't think of it like that. I went in saying, I'm a candidate, I'm competing. I didn't go in thinking I'm a woman competing. I need to be just as good. And I freaking love that. Like, to me, I am not looking to get a free pass because I'm a woman. I'm looking to, Tom says this all the time and it's become one of my favorite quotes from Steve Martin. Be so freaking good they can't not ignore you. Not be so good as a woman. Be so freaking good, full stop. And I don't expect any leeway, any benefits or any of the opposite if I'm a woman or not. So if I'm if I step into a room and I'm feeling that biasness because I'm a female, I go, cool. I can either be annoyed by it, or I can accept that this is what the situation is. And now I have to step into who Lisa is. And I have to be so good. Even if they want to ignore me, they can't. So
I love that.
Taking that freaking ownership has changed everything. Instead of saying, why are you seeing me as just a woman? No, I don't give my power away like that. I freaking own it and I step in, be so good. They can't ignore you.
And that is extraordinary because I'm literally looking at all the women on there. I see Angel, I see Lisa, and this has changed the trajectory of my life because I found more women mentors, whether we believe in energies, frequencies, vibration, whatever label we want to give it, there are different energies there. And look, just speaking openly, Tom can tell me one thing, you tell me the same thing. It might hit me more between the eyes because it came from you. You know, and for those who don't know, she's like 5'1", 100 pounds, and she gives the biggest freaking hugs and the strongest hugs you could ever give, even more so me. And I'm a guy that has huge cheeks, smile all the time and give massive hugs. She gives tougher hugs than I do, and I'm a bulky guy at 6'1". So thank you so much, guys. And that amped me up too. And I see Kim on here, ITU from Australia, who we collaborated again because we met through you, and you're basically what I call a mastermind. And look, I want to share with everybody and I'm gonna stay on too, unless Jay kicks me out. Because I know Tom's given us speeches before, and he stayed in the crowd until the last person left. I'm going to stay here all night and answer questions till the last person gets off the Zoom or Jay kicks me out. So I just want to let people know that, because I also saw Angelise, a team member in the health and wellness. We call her Angel. She was going nuts for that, Lisa, as well. So man, the world is starving for some of that. So I also want to let people know, when Tom and Lisa agreed to do this with me, I wanted to share what helped change my life from transactional to transformational. And from living a life that was barely enough to creating a life of having more than enough. And so that was a big part of it. And as we look at investing in yourself, when I looked at this, you know, when we've got on, there were certain things, and I brought up certain masterminds that I've been in, and investing time, energy, and money and all those different things has really, really changed the course of my life. And one thing that I did, I'm just going to speak openly, this is a real and raw kind of thing on this Zoom, but in 2019, I was typically kind of the most successful person in my group, my arena. So I spent six figures, I spent $100,000 to be the brokest and dumbest person in every room that I walked into. And I joined 3 masterminds. And that shift between Tom, Lisa, Cole Hatter, John Asraf, David Meltzer, and some other people really changed not only my perspective, but my collaborations, my synergies of who I was around. So for me, we say these things all the time. Your network is your net worth. You know, show me your friends, I'll show you show me your friends, I'll show you your future. The average of the 5 people you're spending time with will be your life, your attitude, your income, and your lifestyle. So for me, the network was so damn important. And when I spent that time, energy, and money, it changed everything, because it changed the conversation of the people that I was around. So I want to hear from you guys. Tell us about Impact Theory University, because when you brought it to me, I was like, yes, 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 yes. But I also have heard you guys talk about why you created it and what can people find there. And I can give my kind of testimonial, but I want to hear from the creators of like why you started that in the first place.
To tell the real story, we have to go back in time a bit. So I was in film school at USC. I was 18 or 19 at the time. And I was told that to get into film school, I needed to get good grades. Otherwise, I was never going to get in. And statistically speaking, my counselors told me, look, kid, you're never going to get in. The odds are better that you would get into Harvard Law School than that you'll get into USC Film School. And so when I found out that the secret was good grades, I became obsessed. And one of my teachers said, hey, who wants extra credit? And I threw my arm up so fast, I thought I was going to dislocate my shoulder. And he sent me to TA in the inner cities. So USC, for those that don't know, is in one of the worst parts of Los Angeles, the infamous South Central Los Angeles. And it's really bad. Like when you walk even a block off campus, it is crazy. And so they gave me this little kid to mentor, and he was a terror. He was 8 years old. He had developmental problems and was just going absolutely haywire. And of course, they give you the most problematic students so that you will get them out of class. And it was supposed to be an 8-week program. And at week 6, they tell you, hey, make sure you remind them that you're only coming for 2 more weeks. So I tell them, hey, man, just so you know, I'm only coming for 2 more weeks. And this kid goes ballistic. I'm talking nuclear. He runs up. He was, because they had him on medication, so he's really small for his age. And he runs up to this kid that's 2 or 3 times his size and just punches him in the stomach as hard as he can. And I'm like, what is happening? I had never seen anything like this ever in my life. I finally get him somewhat corralled. And I'm like, what is going on? Are you acting like this because I said that I was only coming for 2 more weeks? And he said, yes. And I said, all right, look, man, I'll make you a promise. As long as I live in Los Angeles, I will come help you with your homework. But you've got to calm down and actually do your homework. If you do that, I will come every week until I move out of the state. We good? He said, yes. And that ended up being an 8.5-year relationship. And I ended up big brothering him, and it was very transformational for me. Now, unfortunately, I was too young and stupid to really help this kid, other than because he was in an adoptive home. He was being abused, which I didn't know. Ultimately, the cops find out, he gets taken out of his home. I become the guardian, have to help him into foster care. I mean, it was like big, heavy shit for somebody who's young. But that plants a seed in my mind that right now, and this is actually still true, right now today in America, the #1 predictor of your future success is your zip code. So that's in my mind. I go on 15 years later, I'm now having a tremendous amount of success. I've sort of got my own mind in a place where I can be useful to myself and to others. And we're growing this business. And now all of a sudden we're back in the inner cities. And when you're in manufacturing in LA, you're going to be in Compton, you're going to be in those kinds of areas. And so we had 1,000 employees that reminded me of this kid. They grew up in some of the hardest neighborhoods on the planet. We had one kid whose sister was shot in the heart with an AK-47, died in his front lawn. Another guy held his stepfather while he bled to death from a gunshot wound to the head. Another kid hid under a car while his best friend bled out in front of him. I mean, just like story after story after story of like this crazy shit. And I'm like, some of these guys are smarter than I am. They've got better business instincts than I do. I mean, just incredible people, which by the way, so Lisa and I have a theory and it goes like this. It doesn't matter who you are today. It only matters who you want to become and the price you're willing to pay to get there. So we got together and we're like, do we really believe that? Or is that just some clever shit to say? We're like, no, we actually really believe that. So if that's true, and we're here in Compton, why don't we tell people, even if you have a felony conviction, we'll consider you for employment. So we put the word on the street, as it is actually called, and we had people lined up around the building just to be interviewed.
Wow.
And we got in former drug dealers, gang members, we had Bloods and Crips working on the same line, and we met some of the most extraordinary people, but keeping Bloods and Crips working on the same line is not easy. So we were just knee deep in this world, meeting these extraordinary people. And I was like, baby, we can change their lives forever. All this stuff that I wasn't able to do for the kid that I had big brothered for, we can now do. Like, we'll teach them everything. And that's where the whole Quest University, I'll teach you anything you want to know. I'll come in early, I'll stay late, all that. This was to drug dealers, former gang members, all this stuff. It was stories you wouldn't believe if I told you. And they were amazing. And we went through it. We were teaching all these people, book clubs, like anything, everything you wanted to know about being an entrepreneur, mindset, all of it. So I had them telling me what kind of businesses they wanted to start, and I was helping them. And what we realized was 2% of the people that encountered this information, it changed their life forever. One of the guys that was part of that 2%, his daughter went from basically about to get kicked out of school to Lisa and I giving him some advice on how to be more effective with his daughter. Goes in, gives his daughter that advice, turns her around. Just last year, she graduated as valedictorian. A, I can't believe we've been at this that long, baby. And B, the fact that it works, right? So we're like, this shit actually works. We use it in our lives every day. Those 2% of people, they use it in their lives every day. But I was very frustrated that we weren't helping 98% of the people. And so we sat down and we played this game called No Bullshit, What Would It Take? So no bullshit, what would it take to touch the lives of the other 98%? And the answer that we came up with was a graduation system. And it goes like this. You start with movies and TV, and you introduce people at the limbic level, so bypassing rationality, going straight to emotion. You introduce them to some of the most important ideas in their life. because there are 3 things that influence you during the age of imprinting, which is, unfortunately, if you really want to have impact, you need to focus on kids between 11 and 15. It's known as the age of imprinting. It's where you really take on the big ideas that are going to influence you for the rest of your life, which is why you've never had a friend again like you had when you were 12, why the book you read when you were 13 impacted you more than anything you've read since, why your favorite bands, your favorite movies, they almost always come from that time period. So we started making film and TV and comic books for those people, focusing on that, with the idea to then graduate them to what we call prescriptive content. So what we're doing right now is what we call straight to camera. So interviews, things like that, where we just say, think like this, act like this, your life will be better, right? We are not holding anything back. If you sit still long enough, I will give you every secret I have. I am trying to get this stuff out as fast as humanly possible. And then the third part of the graduation is formal curriculum, which is Impact Theory University, where it's not off the cuff. It's sitting down and it's saying, hey, I'm going to walk you through everything in phases, breaking it out. Here's the 6 steps to this, the 5 steps to that, the 7 points to understand about this, and giving people what they need in curriculum format so that they can actually apply it to their lives in a very organized fashion. And we think ultimately, so our vision for the school would be to be the Netflix of empowerment. So right now, YouTube is already making the content available. You can take classes from MIT for free, by the way, but nobody's doing a good job of aggregating it and saying, go take these classes in this order, and it will all stack up to this thing. So that's what Lisa and I are doing. So we want to capture people at the age of imprinting with limbic, emotional content that plants seeds of value systems, beliefs, character traits, and then graduate them all the way till ultimately they are going to Impact Theory University. And already the success stories that have come out of Impact Theory University have been insane. In fact, I was replying to somebody in the chat here because we have an Impact Theory University member in here that was saying that it had already changed their life. So that's the goal. That is our answer to no bullshit. What does it take to change culture at scale? How do you get all 100%? And there it is. We want to help people change that are even antagonistic to that shit. You can want to hate your life, but we're coming for you to help you find a way to love it.
I love that, man. And that, I see a lot of people clapping, and like that is exactly why I wanted to share this too, because I mean, you guys were so generous to me, and I was able to get in the early adopters. And for me, that was a really cornerstone of my life of where it changed its trajectory. And it was from what I learned from you in that specific order, being around Lisa, having that influence, but also the collaborations of the people that are going along the same journey as me. And that was such a huge part of it, because now I have something to share, right? You've already been on this path for a while, but now I have a group of people that I can collaborate, talk to, share, and share my experience, which was made not only more fulfilling, but it made it more efficient too, if that's the right word. I think it is. And for me personally, this is another reason why I'm so adamant about this. I use this phrase, everybody, I'm gonna have the people at home write down 2 things, all right? Write this down. Number 1, if it makes me money, it costs me nothing. I have used that phrase to get myself to do so many things that were uncomfortable for me, whether it's time, energy, and money. If it makes me money, it costs me nothing. Now, also write this down. If nothing changes, nothing changes. And those were 2 things that allowed me to invest time and energy and money into going down a different trajectory of life. Because if nothing changes, nothing changes. Look, we don't want you to be spiritually entertained. We want people to transform for you and the ones that you love to actually make a damn impact in the world, because it feels fucking awesome. I cannot explain how good it feels I have it in my room. Where do you want to go? What's the price you're willing to pay to get there? And I've heard Tom say that over and over again. Lisa, be the hero of your own life. I use these things in a tangible manner. And what I'm about to share may or may not be for people on the call. And all I can say is that there was no way I was going to do an event with Tom and Lisa and not share this, because it had such a big impact on my life. And as the people out there freak out, it's the people in here that are having a different dialogue. It's an empowering conversation. We are relentless problem solvers in this room, in this dialogue. And this is why people want to be a part of the community like this, because they will love the upgrade in their network, in their associations, in their potential, in their outlook in life. So, people in here are already successful. You're spending time and energy to up-level your life. There was something that I'm going to take just a couple minutes to explain this, because people have asked me all day, What's Impact Theory University? I was like, all right, I will explain it. So I actually added something that was like last minute to this. So I'm going to share this with everybody. And so I have like a couple slides on which I want to share and explain it. Are we good, Jay? So I can, all right. So this is just Impact Theory University. I don't know if you guys can see me or not. Oh yeah, there I am. Oh yeah, it's all of us. Sweet. That's badass. Good work, Jay. Okay, Impact Theory University, it's mindset and business. So there's a business track. If you want to get your business right, like Tom said, we're going to want to get our minds right. There's also business coaching. I have been on these calls. I have been able to ask Tom in live time questions on my business. I am a speaker, I am an entrepreneur, and I actually have two for you, Tom, that are very specific that I've been trying to implement, and I need feedback on how to adjust. We'll get to that another time. But there's business coaching that you get to live, and then there's a business book club. Whether it's an Audible book or a book that you're reading, those perspectives change lives. Because remember, if nothing changes, nothing changes. But most of us want change, whether it's more money, more impact, more success. I certainly wanted more change in my life. And then there's a mindset track. This is where these two worlds really combined for me. Because I started on the mindset part and then I got into the business side, and my goodness, do they work in absolute synergy. There's also a mindset book club. And then this is just in terms of like the value that comes up. This is what the offering is in terms of what you get when you're in ITU. This is the things that I get every month by investing in myself. So you have all the past replays, all the past training, mindset, business replays, everything like that. And then the full value is around $10,000. And this is a perception that I want because this was my journey on how I started investing in myself. So I want people to think, is $10,000 a lot of money? I want you to kind of just sit with that for a second. Is $10,000 a lot of money? Well, like everything else, it depends on perspective. If my man Jay came here and gave me $10,000, that's a lot of money. If they said, Ricky, you have $10,000 to live the rest of your life, not a lot of money. So it depends on perspective. So the way that I looked at these things to be able to, yes, exactly, it's relative, Gigi. This is just, again, my journey on how I changed perspective to invest time, energy, and money in me so I could change the course of my life. So this is just my journey I'm taking you on. When I looked at it, I was like, okay, well, is that a lot of money? Well, let's look at that. $997. That is the cost for Impact Theory University. Look at it, the average college tuition. And I coach kids now because of what Tom and Lisa taught me. And I will only coach kids on one thing. If their parent doesn't tell me to tell the kid to unequivocally go to college, I will not tell a child that. I will not tell a kid that. If they're a doctor, lawyer, athlete, something a little different. But I think the world is so abundant and we have so many resources to get education that's much more of a tangible ROI. And I'm massively passionate about that now. So if we look at that, and then we can also look at the clicker's not going great. I'm going to come back and you look at the phone. Look at the iPhone. I mean, my goodness, we can spend a phone or change the trajectory of our life. So when I looked at 997, I was like, oh my God. And this is just my own journey I'm telling you about. And my advice, I'm gonna hopefully talk to Lisa and Tom soon. It's too cheap, way too cheap. I am telling you, man, I have some ideas. I know you'll listen whether you do something or not. I always love you because you're open to listening and learning from everybody. But this is what I wanted to purchase. In my masterminds, what I wanted to purchase was very simple. You know, in real estate, they say location, location, location. Well, I will say in your business, community, community, community. I will say in your life, community, community, community. That is what I wanted. Because when I looked at my network, I wasn't growing at the pace that I wanted to grow at because I wasn't around the right damn people. And then I spent six figures because I wanted to go ham. But when I look at what I invested in, and just because Tom and Lisa are who they are, the value was just astronomical and exponential. And really what I wanted to buy was also accountability. And that is the next slide. So awesome. And we'll go back one more time. It is delayed, almost. Well, all right, I'll go to the other slide. Accountability. That's what I wanted. Before this show, this event, I had a shirt that said, I am accountable, literally spilled my ketones all over it, had a big splotching stuff on my shirt, couldn't change it because of Kate. Thank you, Kate. She told me to bring 2 shirts, and it was the implement. But what I wanted in these masterminds is accountability. And I know there are massive accountability groups. If Will is out there, I've joined a number of accountability groups in LA with Will. I think his title is maybe president. I don't know, but he works with Impact Theory. Tom and Lisa, the guy is a badass. He's like 21. I'm like, my God, are you ahead of the game? But it gave me accountability. I got community and I got accountability. And then I was able to take action. So this is us, one of my favorite books. This is in Tom's studio, or last studio, and a book that I use every day in my life is Do It Now. I will say do it now again and again. If it's wanting to get my ass up and go for a run, I will literally say it out loud till I annoy myself to do it now. So that is something, those are 3 things that I wanted to invest in my time, energy, and money. I spent 6 figures to get a community, buy access to people, have accountability, and to do it now. And for me, just my journey, and now we're going to get to the Q&A, open Q&A with Tom and Lisa, where you guys can ask them any question that you want. But this was really what I was looking at. And this clicker is awesome. This was your life. This is the way I look at it, okay? And this is what these 2 did for me. This is what this network did for me. And again, it may be for you, it may not for you, but I cannot say exclusively enough, this was my journey that we went on. And all it did was put a little asterisk there, a little asterisk on my life. I still remember when I built my first house with my mom, my dad, and my sister, how they helped me. That was an asterisk in my life. Investing in myself was an asterisk in my life, and we hockey sticked my life towards impact. And when we get to an impact, there's no better freaking feeling on the world. And in my opinion, that's why Tom and Lisa are so obsessed with what they do. And for me, that led to fulfillment. So when I got around the right people and I invested my time, energy, and money in me, 6 figures, I have to share it with people. I want to share it with people because I can't wait to tell Lisa and Tom this on another Zoom, but it's too cheap. For $1,000 over the year, that's $2.74 a day. That's insanity to me. But what it did for me, my personal journey, is it hockey sticked my life in terms of impact and put an asterisk on when I wanted to invest in myself. So that is why people want change and want to be a part of these types of communities. But I was like, when they agreed to do this, I was like, there's no way I'm not talking about Impact Theory University because it made that level of impact. So Tom and Lisa, again, I cannot thank you enough. It's so cool. My mom and dad used to watch me play. I played minor league professional baseball, and they used to go watch me do that. Now they watch me speak. It's an honor. Mom and dad, wherever you are in the chat, throw a wave out there. And I just wanted to share what you guys have done for me from a tangible, tactical, actual standpoint that not only changed my life for me and the ones I love, but for everybody around me. So as we get into the Q&A, we can take the slide TV off, Jay, but Tom and Lisa, I love you, thank you. And what we're gonna do is, if you guys got some time, we can go to some open Q&A if that's cool with you.
Yeah, of course, man.
Awesome.
And, thank you for walking people through that. Obviously for Lisa and I, it's always cool. And you've been very gracious and told us that yourself, but for you to say that in front of your mom and dad, that's amazing. That's so cool that your parents show up. That actually speaks volumes about you, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you. And my sister too, Cess, I got you too. And Ceci is my sister. I love her. Okay, so who wants to ask Tom and Lisa a question? We'll unmute you. We got maybe another few minutes, or I see Jennifer Grooms. Jennifer, give yourself a wave so the team can find you. Jennifer Grooms, Scott, if we can unmute her so she can, all right, awesome. We're unmuting you here in a sec, Jennifer, and also let us know your dog's name. We obviously want to know that. You got her, Scott? Cool. Awesome. Oh, she's even on the screen with us. Super cool. Jennifer, can you hear us?
She still shows as muted.
There we go. Oh, he knows he's on the screen. This is also. Hi guys, it's really cool to see you guys today. I've been big fans of you guys for like the last 4 years. He's probably gonna bark because it's finally I'm up here. So my question to you guys is, through your entire journey, we know that right now is like a really crazy time with everything in 2020 and all like the events surrounding just the world right now. when you are running your business too, as like I've been, how do you really keep it where you're really distancing like all the like crap and just difficulty and political stuff away to just being like, I'm strictly here for the benefit of this, without having, you know, that gray area, and not to avoid anything, really just keeping like the focus. And do you feel like a need to even like express that to your customer, I guess you could say? So like we have a mission, and it's really to impact the medical community, and right now is a crazy time for them. But at the same time, yeah, it's also trying to make sure we are really just here strictly driven on that mission. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. So the way that we do it may be different. It'll be interesting to hear Lisa's answer to this, but I am extraordinarily good at compartmentalizing. So when I know what I'm trying to accomplish, I've got my important things list, I know where I'm trying to take the business, I know what needs to get done right now, and I can pattern interrupt my thinking. So if I get stress or anxiety over something that's going on in the business or political out in the world, I can just say, no, this isn't the time for that. This is the time to do this thing right now. And then if I feel like that is a thing that I really need to take time to think about, then I'll carve out that time. Now, in terms of how we communicate to our audience, it's a little different because we have interview shows. If we didn't have interview shows, I wouldn't broach the subject. It's like, I know what people turn to me as a brand for. And I learned a very powerful lesson back at Quest, when Quest was, the king of protein bars, but we also launched a high-end clothing line that tanked, and we could not see that the world would not want to buy high-end clothing from a protein bar company, because we didn't think of ourselves as a protein bar company. To us, it was always about mindset, and the bars were just one expression of the mindset, and the clothes were an expression of the mindset. And to us, it made all the sense in the world. And then when that failed, it was suddenly so obvious to me that that wasn't what the world was turning to me for. Now I have occasionally, like when everything kicked off in the summer, during my live Q&As, I did get questions about, BLM or how to handle things. And that's where, I was honest and said where I thought, because I come from a position of unity and compassion, and always like my default setting is to find ways for people to be uplifted. I felt very comfortable saying like, look, I'm not the person to take advice from this. Like I am not somebody who believes I have wisdom on this thing, but let me tell you how I think through the problem. And so I laid out how I thought through the problem, and hopefully it helped and, made people feel seen and heard and uplifted. But you have to be very careful when you're running a business to lose sight of what people are turning to you for. Like if you're a protein bar, be a protein bar.
Yeah, very similar. The only thing that it's harder for me to how do you say the word? I know, right?
What word are we trying to say here?
Compartmentalize.
There we go. Yes.
It's very hard to do for me. So what I do is, okay, I can't control what's going on outside, but I can control on what I'm watching, what I'm listening to, when I do it, how I do it. And so because I can't, I choose when I wake up, I don't switch my phone on. I don't go on social. The first thing I do is I go straight to, I kiss my husband good morning, I kiss the puppies good morning, and I go straight to the gym. Because to me, I need to get my mind and body right with no influence from the outside world. So I know my natural inclination is to switch on the TV, to switch on the news, to go onto social, to either defend if I'm feeling attacked, or to support someone if they're being attacked. And so that becomes just like, it's not part of my mission and my goal. So I remind myself every day, what is my mission? What is my goal? It's to help people. With Women of Impact, very specifically, is to help women. And for me to say my political views or to say anything doesn't align with my goal. And so I just think it muddles the conversation of what I'm trying to achieve. So I have my opinions, I keep them, I talk to my husband, but I don't feel the need to speak out about them, because to me, I go back to what is my goal and what do I do every day to make sure that I'm in line with that goal. And so if that means I don't go on social media for 3 days. I literally don't go on social media for 3 days. And I let other people tell me what's happening. I don't switch on the news because, again, that is in my control.
Awesome. Thank you, Jennifer. I know Lisa appreciates the hair. She always has awesome streaks of Wonder Woman in her hair.
I so wanted to say it. I didn't want to derail, but hell yes, hell.
Thank you. I've had this for 5 years and I don't know who I am without it.
I love that so much.
Thank you.
Awesome. And Scott, who was the last winner, did you say? Oh, Jennifer, you won the last prize too. So send us a DM, Ricky Mendez Speaks, send us a DM, we'll get your address, we'll send you the planner there. Okay, next question. I see Jules, she's in one of my masterminds, Coach Fernando. Coach Fernando, can we find Coach Fernando? He raised his hand. Scott, if you can bring him and spotlight and unmute, and we will get Coach Fernando. There you go. What's up, my man?
Hey, what's up, guys? This is so awesome to be here. Thank you for having me. So I just wanted to ask about how do you kind of go about planning for, I guess, like the future vision of your business and your mission, and what your impact sort of looks like, you know, years down the line.
I think you want to have a North Star that is big and ambitious. And, you know, I sort of tongue in cheek say that I have a 70-year plan. And I actually mean it. Like the plan that we're enacting will truly take 70 years. It's a generational plan. I have a model to model after, which is Disney. But the reality is in 70 years, we will almost certainly have passed the technological event horizon, and there is no way to predict that far. So I say that only to galvanize my thinking, to think long-term, to think about raising a kid on our way of thinking, our type of entertainment, who then raises a kid on our type of thinking and entertainment. That's the loop I want to be in, right? So that you're adding so much value and you're building something to last. So often people build something to sell, to exit. It's, you know, meant to be a financial moment. That's not what this is for Lisa and I. So just having a 70-year plan, even though I know that that's sort of ridiculous, it grounds us in the right way, it gets us focused in the right way. Now, what we really focus hard on is near term. So I'm very clear about what we're doing 1 year to 3 years out. I think when you start getting into 5, that's pretty nebulous. Too much is going to change for that to be very realistic. But if you think of it like the way your eyes are, right? The thing that you look at is crystal clear, razor sharp. You've got a ton of detail. You still feel like you see the stuff at the edges, but you're not putting a lot of brain power and resource into it. It's fuzzy. You have a sense of what it is, but it's not high resolution. And so that's how we think about it. So we're very good, sort of, this is what we're doing this quarter, the next quarter, we have year goals. And then we have a very clear vision for things that will take us, you know, say 3 years to execute upon. And then we have like a rough idea of where we should be aiming at, what we should have accomplished by year 5, but we've lost all specificity by that point.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. And Lisa, you want to chime in on that?
The man nailed it.
Okay. I love it. I love it. Sometimes when Lisa, she'll just go like this when I'm around Tom.
I was like,
you did that for Amy. Amy sort of is on the call. You guys, by the way, if you remember the little selfie video we did for Amy, it was about 1.5 years ago. She is in LA living her dream. And that video that you guys made for her out of total generosity was something that helped her get here. And I want to just plug this as well, because when I went to go take a video with Tom and Lisa, right? It was like, this was early when I kind of was at your guys' house, and I was like, man, should I ask? Should I not? What the fuck, I'm gonna ask. And what Tom said, when I went to go take it, a lot of people in that space would just be like a really easy 10-second answer and then be done. So I go like this, Tom and Lisa right here, and Tom's like, well, keep filming. We're gonna give her good. Like he took it so personally to actually provide value in that moment. That was my biggest takeaway from that, man. I still remember that. Amy's on the call, so she thanks you. We thank you. Do you guys have enough time for maybe another question or two?
Yeah,
okay?
Definitely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
I know Sterling, if she's on the call, I know she moved your team meetings up, so give me a little buffer. So thank you, Sterling and Amy, and shout out to all the ITU people that are just insanely generous and just awesome as you guys are. That says a lot about you guys. And I do want to say, because I see a lot of women on the call that I've given Impact Theory or some of your videos to watch. Jules is one. Tyler is one, hypnotherapist in LA. Kim in Australia is one. Donna is one. Luciana is one. So I always send your guys' stuff because it's made such an impact. All right, next question. Who wants to wave and come up and ask Tom and Lisa a question, give me a wave, and we will come and spotlight you, and we'll have you ask a question. Who is up? Give me a wave. Oh, nope. That's from Amy. Amy in the chat says, thank you, Tom and Lisa. So Seth,
pleasure.
where is my sister? Where is she? Nikki, I don't know if you were waving. Nope. Where's Seth? Seth, there you are. Seth, why don't you come up and ask Tom and Lisa? This is my sister, Tom and Lisa. Seth, if you, Ceci Mendez Ortiz, raise your hand. So, awesome. And Seth will spotlight you. This is my sister, everybody. And she hears me talk about you guys all the time. Hi, Seth, how are you? I love you. What's a question for Tom and Lisa?
Hi, Rick, I love you too. I'm not, and Tom and Lisa and everybody, it's really, really awesome to be here this afternoon, evening. But Rick, did you call on me because you thought I was raising my hand?
Yeah, yeah, I saw you, and part of me, I saw a couple of people waving, and then I was like, I actually want to get a selfie with this. This is awesome. Yes.
Because.
All right, got it. Thanks. Yes.
I actually would be happy to pass on my question because from where I can see, there are so many people, Ricky, going like this.
Okay. Okay.
The yellow hands up, they're going like this.
Okay, somebody, Mike, I see. All right, good. I got what I wanted. I wanted a picture, but and we're having some technical stuff, so I can't see everybody too. Mike,
if you need a hand, by the way, Ricky.
Yeah, well, you guys call on him. You guys can call on him too. That would actually help. But I do see Mike. Where is Mike?
Paris Rain. I have a Paris Rain.
Paris. Paris. Yes, Paris. Let's highlight Paris Rain. She is a good friend from Australia. She is awesome, awesome, awesome. I met her with John Asraf at a movie premiere, and she's awesome too. Paris, how are you?
Hi, I'm very good, guys. Pleased to be here. Thank you, Ricky, for inviting me. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Tom. So glad to be connecting with you. So my question is, what would you say to somebody who wants to have their very own interview show as successful as yours? So any advice, steps that you'd take, anything that you would like to say on that would be greatly appreciated.
Lisa, you are the queen of YouTube.
So at least when I started, I was petrified to get in front of the camera. So the very first time, and I don't know how comfortable you are, so I don't know how far back to kind of go, but the first time I got in front of the camera, she's comfortable. Yeah. To be honest, she's here and her question was perfect, so she's very comfortable. For anyone that may not be comfortable, what I did was Tom was just like my safety net. So having someone, maybe if you're co-hosting, like first one, have someone there that has more experience. When I started though, I had 4 years of producing Tom's shows. So what I didn't realize is I literally for 4 years was waxing on and waxing off. And so when I got in front of the camera, I ended up being just the female British version of Tom. And so the first couple of interviews, I would do everything like him. I was like, okay, I know his so well. I know how he transitions when he gets stuck. I know what he says when someone's not actually answering his question. Like I've been studying him without meaning to for so long that I realized the little tactics he would use. So I went in literally just mimicking him. That just allowed me to get comfortable with doing interviews. Then over time, I just said, what's the Lisa question? What's the Lisa way of responding to this? And to me, it became over time. So now I'm 120 episodes deep in my own show. And now I've established my own way of doing it. But 100%, I mean, even today, in fact, actually, I was listening to the Oprah Winfrey interview with Brene Brown on Super Soul Sunday, the second part. And I literally, as I was listening to it this morning, I was like, I see what you're doing, Oprah. Like I was, without meaning to, she was taking what Brene Brown was saying and she was almost repeating it in her own way. And I was like, oh, that's for her audience. Okay, so she's taking what Brene is saying, she's encapsulating it as Oprah Winfrey, and now everyone's hearing Oprah's take on it. Now, has Oprah always been like that? Or did she just start doing that as she got, more Oprah-like? So I just analyze people and I'm like, how are they doing it? Does that feel authentic to me? And then remember a tactic. So for instance, I always get hung up on my first question. So I'm like, all right, how does everyone in the history of interviewing that I admire, how do they start interviews? And now you assess, you try it out and you're saying, all right, on my first interview, I'm going to try out what I just said I'm going to do and see if it works and then iterate. So that's really how I approached it. And then the other part is just owning all of my mistakes and my failures and my blunders and making sure that I leave them in the interviews. And I realized that the more I leaned into it, the more people are like, oh my God, you're so vulnerable. And I'm like, it's just that I'm that bad that I've just left stuff in order to show people you don't have to be perfect. And that's really the thing, right? Is that if you can own not being perfect, people just start gravitating towards that. And then you can ease in order for you to just be you.
Thank you so much. I really received that. Be me, be genuine, authentic, mimic, analyze, study, assess. The greats. Thank you so much.
Now I will say that's only half of what makes Lisa great. The other half is what you're also going to have to get good at. You have to understand YouTube's algorithm. You have to understand what they reward, what they punish. That's going to be a huge part of this. Getting very good at thumbnails and headlines. Thumbnails and headlines. That's big. Trends. I wish it wasn't a thing you had to pay attention to, but it is. If you're going to interview somebody that's doing the rounds, make sure that you do a totally different interview than everybody else so that people don't feel like, oh, I've seen this interview before. But understanding the mechanics of how you're generating money. So podcasts, getting your advertisers in order, how to do that, what topics they like, what topics pay what. So different topics, like we have a relationship show. The relationship show pays a lot less per 1,000 views than either of our straight interview shows. So yeah, so really being conscious of, okay, what can I do? What can't I do? What gets demonetized? Like my favorite show to do is called Conversations with Tom, but it gets demonetized all the time because we're talking about like crazier shit. So this is where I worry so much about becoming spiritual entertainment, where I'll make people feel good. I joke all the time. I have a 2-hour declining arc of influence. By the end of this fucking call, I will make some of you believe you can do anything. But 2 hours later, you're going to be back to your normal self. That shit haunts my dreams. I have no interest in that. I want people to actually make change. And unfortunately, to grow a business, you can't just have a mission and all that. You have to know how to fucking build a business. You better know how to balance a checkbook. You better understand cash flow. You better understand structuring a company. So when it comes to building a podcast, you need to understand podcast algorithms. You need to understand YouTube algorithms. You need to understand advertisers, what they go for, what they don't go for. And like, understand you're a brand, whether you want to be or not. And so figuring out what part of yourself to display, how to translate that into a topic that is trending, how to start an interview in a way that you can title based on that so people don't feel that they were tricked. That's huge. And Lisa is demonic about it. She's so good and so obsessive about this shit. And I'm like, thank God that you're so into this, because I'm not. I want to go off and build Disney. But she actually knows what it takes to build a channel. So this is one where she's got a bit of Gary Vee in her. Don't just listen to what she says, watch what she does. Because this woman, the number of iterations she'll do today, just today, baby. Have you sent more than 70 text messages regarding headlines and thumbnails?
Maybe.
Okay, that every single day. Nobody watches that side of things. We have a team that goes and does keyword research before she'll do an episode. So she'll say, I have this person on. I think I want to talk about this. Go find out if these keywords are going to pop, so that thematically she knows the theme, but now she knows this is the word that gets 10 times the search volume. So, I could say this 3 different ways, but I'm going to say this word in the first 30 seconds of my interview to make sure that I can have in the thumbnail and the headline. That's what it takes to build a big show.
Yes. Wow, that's a lot of information. Thank you so much. But that was great. I'm going to listen to that recording, study it, write it all out. Thank you so much.
That's just the tip of the iceberg. Yeah. Just trying to get you to understand algorithm.
Yeah, sorry, I was really thinking about the actual interview itself versus people if you're going on YouTube or, but everything Tom just broke down that I now do ended up being because when we went into COVID, we were all doing Skype interviews. Our Women of Impact, a lot of channels, just viewership went down. And I was just complaining for like 2 months. I was just complaining. And then eventually I was like, hang on, what do I know about myself? The second I take ownership is this second I'm able to take action. And then I can say, okay, you failed, that's fine. But I'm just sitting here waiting, blaming the world. So what I ended up doing is, if I go into this thinking everything is my fault, it's not the COVID, it's not everything that's happened, it's literally my fault. Now, how do I change it? And as Tom just broke down, I went in and was like, what's the freaking keywords? What are people searching for? And I did it with like self-sabotage. I was like, okay, women, this is a really hot topic. The word self-sabotage very specifically is a top key search term right now. Who do I know in my space that can talk about self-sabotage? So I wrote the title, I wrote the headline, talked to my team about it, got the guest on, shot the episode, titled it that, and it ended up being a viral video for us. So everything goes to how much do I want to take ownership, and then how do I then learn, even if I take ownership and then fail, how do I learn from that and iterate again next time? And that really did change things for me.
Amazing.
Right.
That was a plethora of information. Thank you.
Awesome.
Ricky, I'm prepared to do the next 7 minutes as a lightning round, but I think
Okay.
the only way we can do that is if people type their questions.
Cool.
Does that break your format, or can we do that?
I am adaptable and we can do that, absolutely. One thing I do want to see, because I see Kim Leonard, who's in ITU in Australia, and there's 2 things I want to leave with people, and then drop your questions in the chat now, and then Tom and Lisa can go. But one thing that I always said is, if it makes me money, it costs me nothing. And if nothing changes, nothing changes. And my collaboration with Kim, who's in Australia, who I've done a boot camp for her team, and she's leading me to speaking opportunities in Australia. This is why we want to invest in ourselves, because as people out there freak out, it's people in here that are having empowering conversations. So I see Kim right there. Kim, I adore you and thank you. And she's badass in Impact Theory University. That's how we met, through this mastermind. So I just wanted to say thank you. And then also my mom and dad, thank you for being here. And my sister, Ceci. Drop questions in the chat, and then you guys can pick whatever you want. And the next 7 minutes we went over. I really appreciate you guys' time, and I love you. Drop your questions in the chat and tell me what you see.
All right, I'm going to do a speed round. So here we go. First one is from Gigi. If you have an innovative idea, virtual wellness program, how do you gauge what a good strategy is to bring it to market? Do you have a process to assess the impact factor, and what indicators to go full steam on? So there is so much information on any industry. So I would start by researching the industry. I research in swarms, and I'm going to speak faster this, so you can always replay this. I research in swarms, meaning I go into something I don't know what the industry is about. So I'm going to learn the terms and all that, and I'm just going to read as much as I can, and it'll begin to coalesce into something that I understand. Then I'm going to pick a model. Who's doing something close to what I want to do? Maybe they're missing that one secret ingredient, but if you figure out what they're doing, you're going to understand what's the size of the market, what realistically part of that can I hope to get. When you're doing that, don't say the market's a $7 trillion market, so even if we get 1% of that, we're fucking huge. It doesn't work like that. You need to find an actual company. What are they doing? And then say, what if I was 3% of that company? Or what if I was the 3rd biggest player in the space? And asking how much capital you'd have to raise to build to that. So that is a heavy business acumen question. Book recommendation, please. The most important book in the English language is Mindset by Carol Dweck. How do you deal with burnout? I don't do burnout. You need to have rules in your life and things about yourself that are true. Now, how do I avoid burnout? 1, I tell myself I don't do it. I don't put up with that shit. I don't allow it in my mind. Fuck that noise. So that's a big part of it. The second thing is, if I feel burnout creeping up on me and it's a Tuesday, I'm fucking taking the day off. You have to know when to go hard and when to relax. The only way to avoid burnout, love what you do, have a rule in your mind that you don't do it. And when you need the time, take the time. I don't understand people that think they have to work around the clock. You don't. You have one obligation. Everybody lean in. You only have one obligation in life, and that is to love your life. That's it. Let me give you the punchline. It's not about money. It's not about success. It's not about fame. It is entirely how you feel about yourself when you're by yourself. That's it.
I just want to add, I know this is, I'm breaking speed round, but I just want to add, Lisa comes in with the non so speed answer. I just want to add to that. The one thing that I'm noticing in our space and in the world is everyone's very much focusing on like, do this to create impact. And I believe that you should be doing it to achieve whatever goal and dream that means for you. So we always say like, oh, improve your life to create impact for other people. I don't think that that should be everyone's goal. I don't think that everyone wants that. If you want to change your life and achieve your dreams, you absolutely 100% should go for it. That's the key. I don't think you have to spread impact to the world if what you want in life is to be the best freaking father, mother, like whatever it is. That's the key to me, not necessarily global impact. And I just had to say that because a lot of people now are saying, do this to create impact.
Word. Tom, does pineapple go on pizza? Absolutely not. What would you tell your 16-year-old self? What I just told you guys, that ultimately it's not about money or fame. It's about how you feel about yourself when you're by yourself. And me specifically, I would say toughen the fuck up. I unfortunately did not know that at that point. Jonah, how do I get people I work with to be as obsessed with your channel and personal growth as I am? You don't. You cannot want it for someone. I've learned that the hard way. Jennifer, can we all do the Lisa pose for a pic? Yes, you can.
Yes. Can you come get this?
And I think that is probably a great place to dip out. So if you guys want to do that, and
you
take
gotta
that
do
picture.
it too, babe. I've never seen Tom do the Lisa pose. People may not even know what the Lisa pose is.
Yeah, let's do it too here.
All right, ready?
Yes.
Best day of my life, people.
Awesome.
All right, guys, thank you
so
so much for having us. This was wonderful. Ricky, you are amazing, my friend. Your community is amazing. Thank you for having us be a part of this. It was truly wonderful.
Thank you so much.
I just want to add, there was a couple of people that I saw were like 16 years old. I want us all to freaking give those, I think they were women, a freaking hand, because we all know how difficult it is to do it at our age. So to come on, do that at 16, to know what you want, to improve your life at that young age. Holy crap. Yes.
I'm
amazing,
staying
and you're
on.
so far ahead of everybody else.
Exactly. I'm staying on for as long as people want to stay on. Tom and Lisa, we even went over my buffer. I love you guys. Thank you so much. You guys mean the world to me. And I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much.
Big shout out to
you.
Ricky for doing this.
Yeah, big shout out. Thanks, guys.
All right, guys.
And to mom and pops, Ricky.
All right. You
There
hear
it
that,
is.
Mom?
You
Give me a
raised
shout
a
out.
good kid.